Yeah, okay.
Okay, you may go on now.
Hello guys, welcome to the first workshop of Continum. And I'm Vikrant Chaudhary, one of the coordinators of Continum. And we also have Pawan Kalyan, he's the other coordinator. And as discussed in orientation, Continum is about analog electronic circuits and filters. So the first workshop deals about circuit analysis. And before we go into circuit analysis, let us see first what is analog. Analog simply means continuous. Analogous continuous. So everything you find natural, every information you find natural, like sound waves and temperature, speed, anything, they are all analog, like they are all continuous. And analog electronics means the device or the system that operates on a continuous signal. The signal can be a voltage, a current, or anything else. And and you can't find a digital signal directly from, like, a sound wave can't be directly digital. Digital means it is basically discontinuous. As you can see in this graph over here, digital means it is either low or high. And you might also have seen in your digisum workshop, digital means it only has two values, zero or low or high output. And analog means it is a continuous signal. So everything that needs to be converted into digital first needs to go through an analog circuit. So first a signal will be sent into the analog circuit, only then it can become digital. Or else everything you find natural is always continuous. And in digisum, you might have seen that the gates are the least or the most simplified part of a circuit. And even gates need to be made from something, and they need to make these circuits. And can you guess what are these two circuits on the left side or right side? A wild guess will do. And, well, they are out of your reach, I guess. So this side, just a second. So the circuit this side is an OR gate, and you can see that there are two inputs, A and B. And if you give a 0 and 1, the output will be 1. So even gates need to be can be constructed from circuits, a circuit with resistors and transistors. And on the right side, this is an and NAND gate. This is an AND gate, and you need to keep up with drawing because it's very difficult to draw on the mouse. And so now we will go into circuit analysis. First, let us see what are the basic types of circuits we may face. And RC circuits is the first type. So RC circuits, from the name itself, you can see that RC circuits means resistance and capacitance. And there are two types of RC circuits, either a charging circuit or a discharging circuit. A charging circuit simply means that the initial voltage across the capacitor is zero. So when a source is connected, the capacitor acts as an inertia to voltage. Like, a capacitor opposes change in voltage because there will be induced EMF between the plates of the capacitor. So it will oppose the change in voltage across the capacitor. So initially the capacitor will act like an short circuit because the change in voltage would be zero. And in the steady state condition, that is at time t is equal to infinity, capacitor will act like an open circuit while charging. This is, and while discharging, the initial voltage across the capacitor will be some V, and after time t is equal to infinity, that is at steady state, all the charge will be discharged and it will become as an open circuit. Sorry, I mean closed circuit. So, and capacitors are used in pacemakers, flashes, and timing circuits. Flashes, you can camera flash and all those things. Capacitors are used. RC circuits are used. And so first we will see about RC charging circuit. And for a capacitor, Q is equal to VCV. So dq upon dq upon dt is equal to c into dv upon dt. So dq upon dt is ic into ic of t. So that is c into dv upon dt. So and if you take a KVL across this loop and current is flowing in this direction, then you will get Vs minus Vr minus Vc is equal to 0, and Vr is I into R, and Vc is, and you can Vc is Vc. So and first if you substitute I as this C into dV upon dt, then you will get this following equation. If you substitute this equation in the above equation, you will get this Vs is equal to Rc dV upon dt plus Vc. So this is a first order differential equation. And I think you all know how to solve first order differential equations. It will be like something like P plus Q into e power P or something. I don't remember this about much. So this is how you solve a first order differential equation. And after solving, you will get Vc as something. And you can also check the initial conditions. Suppose at time t is equal to 0, then e power minus t by rc is 0. So it is 1. E power minus 0 is 1. And 1 minus 1 would be 0. Vs is 0. And in the next graph, you can see that Vs is 0 at time t is equal to 0. And as it progresses to steady state, it will be an exponential increase. And I mean, it will be a negative exponential increase. An exponential increase would be like this. And this is something like this. So, and this RC is known as time constant, that is tau. So what tau is at that time, the VC would be 0.63 times Vs. So this is tau, one tau. So tau is RC over here. And if you differentiate this, you will get current. C into DC, dVc would be current. So current would be an exponential decay, an exponential fall. At initially time t is equal to 0, capacitor behaves like an short circuit. So it would be V by R, Vs by R. Current would be Vs by R. It will be maximum at that time. And at time t is equal to infinity, capacitor behaves like an open circuit. So it would be 0 at time t is equal to infinity. And even here, tau would be same, 1 RC. So this is RC charging circuit. And next we have RC discharging circuit. Even here IC is equal to C into dV upon D. And in this loop, if you take the current going like this, then it would be VC plus RIC is equal to 0. This is the KVL equation, which of voltage law. All the sum of voltages in a circuit should be 0. And if you substitute this I in the KVL equation, then you will get a differential equation once again. And this is a simple differential equation. You can just take VC, divide it with VC of t, and you will get a integral with logarithm. And finally, you will get this formula. Vc is equal to Vs into e power minus t by Rc. So even from this formula, you can see that initially at time t is equal to 0, Vc would be Vs, and at time t is equal to infinity, Vc would become 0. So at time t is equal to infinity, capacitor will become like a closed circuit, sorry, short circuit. And so they, since there is no voltage difference, so there won't be any flowing at time t is equal to infinity. And initially at time t is equal to 0, IC would be Vs upon R here also. And note that if the voltage across the capacitor is in this direction, suppose this is a positive and this is negative, then if you differentiate this equation, that is IC is equal to C into dV upon dt. If you differentiate this, then you will get IC as minus Vs upon R into e power minus t by RC. That simply means that the current direction would be to the opposite direction of the potential across capacitor. So even the graph would be something like this for current. So if you take just the magnitude, then it would be an exponential fall as well. Here also it is an exponential fall, but it is just a negative of that thing. And it is the same graph for charging and discharging circuit for current. Just the direction would be in the opposite direction. And for the capacitor, voltage across the capacitor would be an exponential rise for charging, and it would be an exponential decay for discharging. And next we have RL circuits, and RL circuits are circuits with resistors and inductors. And an inductor is just a wire that is coiled. So you can see over here, it is a coiled wire. And EMF would be induced across the inductor when when a current is passed through it. So what inductor does is it opposes change in current. Inductor is like an inertia to current. We have seen capacitor is like an inertia to voltage. So inductor is an inertia to current. So initially it opposes all the current. So current across inductor would be zero and it will act like an open circuit at time t is equal to zero. And at steady state, of course, all the current would be passing through it and it acts like a closed circuit at steady state. And similar to the RC circuits, we also have RL discharging and charging circuits. First, we will see about RL charging circuits. And in this loop, if you take a KVL, then it would be Vs plus Vs is equal to VR plus VL. And for an inductor, V is equal to L in di upon dt. This V is equal to L into di upon dt. And if you substitute this in the KVL equation, you will get Vs is equal to Ri plus L di upon dt. And this is once again a first order differential equation. And if you solve this, you will get I current. Here you will first get current after solving the differential equation. And we get current as Vs by R into 1 minus e power TR by L. And here tau time constant tau is equal to L by R, not R by L, because it is T by tau. So it is time constant is equal to L by R. And similarly, the time constant means the time at which the current would be 0.63 times the initial current, that is the maximum current. So from the equation, you can say that at time t is equal to 0, the initial current would be 0 because 1 minus 1 would be 0. So this blue line here, this is the current graph. This violet line here, it is the voltage graph. So from the graph as well, you can see that the blue line starts from 0 at time t is equal to 0. So initially its current would be 0. At time t is equal to infinity or at steady state condition, t would be equal to V by R, that is maximum. T would reach V by R at time t is equal to infinity. And voltage, you will get it by differentiating current, and it is Vs into e power minus t R by L. So this is voltage, and at initially the voltage, it acts like an open circuit. So all this Vs would be across the inductor itself. So it would be Vs at initially, that is the maximum voltage across the inductor, that is source voltage, and it would be an exponential decay for voltage. For current, it would be an exponential rise. It is exactly opposite of capacitor. While charging capacitor has voltage as exponential rise and current as exponential decay. Here it is current is exponential rise and voltage is exponential decay. So next we have RC discharging circuit, and for an RC discharging circuit, after all the current is passed through the inductor, we take the switch from A to B at time t is equal to 0. So initially, suppose the current is flowing like this, then it would be VR plus VL is equal to 0 is the Kirchhoff's equation, and you substitute VL as L into dA upon dt for an inductor, and you'll get this equation. And from solving this equation, this is again a differential equation or a simple integration, you can say. So you will get IL is equal to Vs by R into e power minus TR by L. And here also time constant tau is equal to L upon R. So initially here the current is Vs by R. So initially the current is maximum. So because the initial condition for a discharging circuit is the steady state condition for a charging circuit. So you can remember it like that as well. So for a charging circuit, the steady state condition is current would be maximum, that is Vs by R. And for a discharging circuit, the current would be maximum at initially, Vs by R. And finally, the current would decay, exponential decay to 0. And voltage will give us the same thing. But here voltage will be minus again, because differentiating this, we will get a minus. So what it says is voltage, the potential across the inductor would be in opposite direction to the current. So here the current direction is like this, and the voltage direction is, potential direction is this, plus and minus. So, and the voltage across the inductor would be same while discharging and charging. Like it will be an exponential rise. Even here as well, it is an exponential rise. And this is similar to capacitor. In for a capacitor, while discharging and charging, the current would be an exponential decay. Here, the voltage is an exponential rise. So this is exactly the opposite of capacitor, but in a similar way. Next up is AC circuits. And AC circuits means alternating current circuits. So from the name itself, alternating current means it changes direction. So initially, suppose it is in this direction, positive X direction. So after some time period T, it should change the direction to negative side. So any DC current, all DC current means the current is in a single direction. This is a DC current, so it is a wavy, the current form is some waves. So this is still a DC current because this is not going into the negative side. So if the current goes, the graph of the current goes into the negative side like this, suppose it is a sinusoidal function, then at time, for time t is equal to pi to pi 3 pi by 2 or something like that, it would be negative. So that is called AC current. Is the current or the voltage would change direction. So initially, suppose the current direction is this in the circuit, and then after some time the current direction would be like this. And even for AC current, AC circuits, the three main components would be capacitor, resistor, and inductor. And we will see how they behave in AC current. So first we will see how a resistor behaves when attached to a AC source. So an AC source would be V is equal to V naught into sine omega t. Here we are taking it as a sinusoidal function. And even here, Kirchhoff's laws are valid for every circuit, for any source. So V is equal to I into R, and V is V naught into sine omega t. So I is V naught by R into sine omega t. And so I naught here is V naught by R. And here the phase difference is zero. What do you mean by phase difference? Suppose this is the voltage, then and this is the current graph. Phase difference means the time or the angle at which the difference between the maximas of both voltage and current. Suppose if the maxima of voltage appears like this and current is as shown in this graph like this, then the voltage maxima occurs first and the current maxima occurs next. So here what you say is voltage leads current because the maxima of voltage occurs before the maxima of current. And since this is a sine function for both voltage and current, and there is no phase difference, so the phase difference between a voltage current for a resistor would be zero in an AC circuit. And next, a capacitor. How will a capacitor behave in an AC circuit? And if you take the current as like this, then for a capacitor, V is equal to Q by C. So, and here V is V naught into sine omega t. So Q is C into sine omega t, V naught, and I is dq upon dt. So we will get I as omega c v naught cos omega t. And if you take this omega c v as I naught, you will get I is equal to I naught into sine omega t plus 90 degrees. This cos omega t can be written as sine omega t plus 90 degrees. And I naught is equal to V by XC. What is XC? XC is called as capacitive reactance. XC, XL, they are capacitive reactance and inductive reactance. And here XC formula would be 1 by omega C. And so here, as you can see, this is a cos function for current. So for a constant, the maxima occurs at time t is equal to 0. So for current, maxima occurs first. And then for voltage, because sine maxima occurs at time t is equal to 90 degrees. So here I leads voltage with 90 degrees. We say current leads voltage with 90 degrees because maxima of current occurs first. And next is AC circuit with inductor only. And even here, by taking Kirchhoff's law, like in this loop, it would be V naught is equal to L into di upon dt. So if you integrate this V naught by L into sine omega t, you'll get current across the inductor. So here you will get it as negative V naught upon omega L into cos omega t. So current across the inductor could be in this direction. So it would be I naught upon omega L as I naught, and you can say minus cos omega t is, so minus cos theta is sine of theta minus 90 degrees. So here theta is omega t. So I is I naught into sine omega t minus 90 degrees. And here I naught is V naught upon XL. This XL is inductive reactance, and this is inductive reactance, and this XL is equal to omega into L. That is the formula for inductive reactance, not capacitive reactance. So, and here this is a negative cos function or sine of omega t minus sine theta. So here what happens is this, the maximum of current occurs after 90 degrees of voltage. So first this, here the zero is, it is not 0 and 0 degrees. Here it is 0 and pi by 2 degrees. The graph is starting from pi by 2 degrees only. So first at pi by 2 degrees, the sine theta will be maximum, that is voltage. And at 90 degree, at 180 degrees, then the current maximum. So first the voltage maximum occurs and then the current maximum occurs. So here voltage leads current. So by 90 degrees. So you can remember it in civil way. For a capacitor, C means capacitor, I means current, and V means voltage. For a capacitor, current leads voltage, and for an inductor, voltage leads current. So this is a simple way to remember it, and they lead by 90 degrees, both voltage and current for a capacitor and an inductor respectively. And so next we will see a series RLC circuit. Till now we have seen just a single component. Now we will see R, L and C in a series. So one way to solve this series is by taking a differential equation. Just now you solve this by taking a Kirchhoff's law and getting a differential equation and solving it. So you can solve it in that way, but that would result in a bit of a hectic or a second order differential equation. You can still solve that. Second order differential equations are not too tough to solve. So that is one way to solve this. And there is also another way, the phasor way you can say. So for a resistor, we have seen that the impedance means the equivalent resistance or equivalent admittance you can say. That is R for a resistor. And for a voltage, the reactance is omega L, and the impedance would be omega L plus 90 degrees, because for a inductor, the voltage leads current. So VL will lead IL. I would be same for everything. So because they are connected in series, I would be same for all these three components. So voltage across inductor would lead current, and voltage across capacitor would lag current. Lag means that is the vice versa of lead. So for VC it would be 90 degrees, minus 90 degrees. And for VL it would be plus 90 degrees. And you can see the phasor diagram for an RLC circuit over here. For an for a resistor, I and R, V are in same phase, so there won't be any angle between them. You can consider this as vectors, the way V and I, and note that voltage and current are not vectors, though they have direction. They are not vectors. Here, just we are representing them as vectors. And for a inductor, voltage leads current. So voltage leads current by 90 degrees. So it would be like this. This inductor's voltage would be along y-axis and current would be along x-axis. And for a capacitance, current leads voltage. So currents would be along positive x-axis and voltage would be along negative x-axis, because this is minus 90 degrees. You can recall that in coordinate geometry, you always take angle as positive with positive x-axis. So here in anti-clockwise direction. So here we are taking it in clockwise direction. So it would be minus degrees. And if you combine all three diagrams, you'll get this. Here voltage VL would be along positive y-axis, and VC would be along negative y-axis, and VR would be along x-axis, and current would be along the VR direction, because phase difference for current and VR would be 0. So current is also through positive x-axis. And since these are just in the opposite direction, we can simply write them as VL minus VC. And so for Kirchhoff's law in this loop, you can say that Vs is equal to VL plus VR plus VC. So this is from Kirchhoff's law. So over here as well, this plus this vector should give us Vs. So VL minus VC plus VR should give us Vs. And note these are vectors, not the magnitude. So these are vector, this is a vector addition. So for magnitudes, what we need to take is we need to take the mod of this thing. So Vs mod Vs is equal to mod VR plus VL minus VC mod, and Vs square would be the magnitude square should be equal to VR square plus VL minus VC plus 2AB cos theta. Here cos theta is 90 degrees, so cos theta would be 0. So Vs square would be simply equal to VR plus VL minus VC square. So Vs, you will get it as VR square plus VL minus VC square. And I across all these three components is same. That is I here. Current will be same across all three components because they are connected in a series. So VR would be equal to I into R, and VL would be equal to I into XL. XL is the inductive reactance, and VC is equal to I into XC. And XC is capacitive reactance, and XL is omega into L, and XC is 1 by omega C. So we can write Vs is this I into R square plus IXL minus IXC whole square. If you take I common, Vs would be equal to I into root over R square plus XL minus XC square. So if you take I this side, that is Vs upon I. So for any circuit, the total voltage upon total current, that is the current from the source, would thus impedance. This is called impedance. The source voltage by the source current, that is the current coming from the source. That will give us the impedance of the whole circuit. So here that is impedance, you can also say in a simple way, that is the effective reactance, effective resistance. So here Z would be equal to root over R square plus XL minus XC square. And you can also represent Z in a phasor way. So similar to the voltages, XL would be upon the positive y-axis and XC would be upon the negative y-axis. So XT is some XL minus XC, that is this is XL minus XC, and XR is R, that will be our positive x-axis. So Z would be equal to this square plus this square. This is a right angle triangle, and this is phi, that is the phase difference of the entire circuit. So here you can also calculate the phase difference of the entire circuit. So that is the phase difference of the source current and the source voltage. So phase difference phi, from this phasor diagram, you can say that tan phi is equal to this upon R. So tan phi is equal to XL minus XC upon R, or cos phi is equal to R upon Z. And cos phi, you also say the power factor, because this is the only component. If you calculate power, this will be the only real component. We'll not go into that. So now we have got phi. We can calculate phi from here, cos inverse of R by Z or something like that. So how will you know that whether current leads voltage or voltage leads current? You just know phi. So for that, what we do is if XL minus XC, if XL is greater than XC, then current leads voltage. Sorry, voltage leads current, because for an inductor, civil, you can say, for an inductor, voltage leads current. So here the reactance of inductor is more. So that means the voltage dominance would be more. So voltage would lead current. And from the phase level, you can say if XL is greater than XC, then this would be along the positive y direction. If XC is greater than XL, then that would be negative and it would be along the negative y direction. So here phi would become negative. That means current would lead voltage if capacitive reactance is more. So if XL is greater than XC, then this whole thing behaves similar to an inductor, that is voltage leads current, and if it is reverse, then this will behave like a capacitor. This is L. and this is C. So bear with my writing. And now what happens if we have solved this type of circuit? Now, if I suppose there is another inductor over here and there is another capacitor over here. Now, what how can you solve this? You can't apply phasors for this because the current here and the current in this whole loop is not same. And if you take the orthodox way and you try solving it with differential equations, that would be really hectic. You will get a higher order differential equations, some fourth or fifth order, and that would be almost not possible to solve for us. So that's where we use Laplace transform. And till now, if you have any doubts, you can speak up and ask. You can ask in the chat box as well. So I guess no doubts till now. These all I think you have already studied it in Inter. So we will just start from Laplace transform. So first, let us see what is a Laplace transform formula. So we will take S. S is an imaginary number. An imaginary number is a plus ib. I is the root minus 1, the imaginary number. So here j is I. You in engineering you simply represent as j most of the time because for current we use I. So to not get confused, we are representing j as the imaginary number root minus 1. So S is a complex number. It has two properties, you can say, or two. It is a 2D number, the positive real part and the positive imaginary part. So for Laplace transform, you need to multiply the function f of t. If you want to find the Laplace transform of f of t, you need to multiply it with e power minus st, and then you need to integrate this function with limits 0 to infinity, and the function you will get, that will be in S domain, that is this complex number domain. So, and there won't be any t because we will be substituting the limits 0 and infinity in place of t. So this is a complete transformation, not a formula, because the f of t, suppose it is some t, f of t is equal to t. This will become some 1 by s or e by s or something after integration. So won't be any t after the transform. So this everything will transform into s. So we are saying that this we are saying this as Laplace transform, not a Laplace function or Laplace formula or something. Because a time domain thing will transform into an S domain function. And this Laplace transform is represented as f of s. So in time domain, you will represent as f of t, and in Laplace, you will represent as f of s, or this symbol L you can say, or E you can say, E of f of t. This is the mathematical way of representing a Laplace function. So we have seen what is a Laplace transform, and now we will see why do we use Laplace transform. So first of all, Laplace transform converts all the time domain equations into S domain equations, and not just conversion, like not just T would convert into S. It also converts the differential equations in time domain into algebraic equations. So suppose there is some d3 t 3x upon dt. X is some function of time. So this gets converted into some a into s power some n can be a 3. Suppose here we are taking 3, right? So we'll just take 3 plus so on. So here what happens is this differential equation. This is a higher order differential equation. You can't solve this normally, or if you can say this is d9, then this would convert into a into s power 9. So this is getting converted into an algebraic equation. It is simpler to solve an algebraic equation than a differential equation. So that is the basic use of Laplace transform. And the same thing is it is written over here. So y of s would be equal to an algebraic function of x of s. So that is the main use why you use Laplace transform in circuit analysis. This is the main part of Laplace transform use. So next we'll see some examples. Suppose u of t is a function. U of t is function t is equal to 1. That is, if there is a graph, so u of t is a constant function. For t greater than 0, it is 1. For t less than 0, it is 0. So since we are integrating from 0 to infinity, so this part won't matter to us and it is 0 as well. So for t greater than 0, u of t is 1. So f of t would be 1 and this would be integral e power minus st into dt. I think you all know how to do this simple integrals. So this would be e power minus st upon s, the integral of e power minus st, or integral of e power at would be e power at upon a. So an exponential function, integral of exponential function would be the same function. But here, since st is there, you will divide it by s. And we need to substitute the limits 0 to infinity. At time t is equal to 0, this would be minus 1 by s. At time t is equal to infinity, this would be 0. So 0 minus of minus 1 by s. And you will get this as 1 by s. So what is happening is here it is a constant function and in time domain of t is a constant function, but here it is much of like a hyperbolic function like this. So this is getting transformed into some other function in S domain. Here you can say that here this is a constant function though, so this is easier to solve than this. But for a differential equation, it will be solved into an algebraic equation that we will see later. And if you take the function as f of t is e power minus at, then you can substitute f of t as e power minus at in the formula, and you will get this, and this is the same integral as this. E power minus st and e power minus a plus st is same. You just take, instead of s, you will take s plus a. So here also, if you substitute the limits, it is getting converted into 1 by s plus a. So f of s, that is the Laplace transform for e power minus at, is 1 by s plus a. And next we will see the Laplace transform of some general functions. So we have seen this f of t is equal to 1. This is u of t, same. So this is equal to 1 by s in Laplace transform. And for an e power at, instead of a, we have seen for minus a. So here this would be s minus a. If a is minus a, then this would be plus. And these are some general functions for sine theta, for sine t, cos t, sine ht, cos ht, and t. So this is known as Laplace table, or you can, this is just Laplace table means the table that shows us the Laplace transform of some general functions. So for a sine theta, it would be a by s square plus a square. For a cos theta, it would be s by s square plus s square. So like that. This is a Laplace table. You call this as a Laplace table. A Laplace table simply shows the Laplace transform of a function, a general function you can say. So if you multiply this t power n with e power at, so here it is t power n, and if you multiply this with e power at, so what happens in the Laplace formula is it would just simply add s instead of s, it would be s plus a. So instead of s everywhere, it would be s plus a. So as you can see here, a, so it is s minus a, because here we are adding e power a. So there will be e power minus s. So minus s plus a or s minus a, you can say. If you are adding e power minus a, if you are multiplying e power minus a, then this would be s plus a. So like that, every function changes from s to s minus a if you multiply it with e power a. This is a basic understanding. Hope you all understood this. And next, we will see how a differential equation changes into algebraic equation. So first, we will take a function f of t, and it has a derivative f dash of t, and the Laplace transform of f of t is f of s, capital F of s. So we will see the Laplace transform of f dash of t. So suppose f dash of t, L of f dash of t would be equal to integral of this formula we are applying. So f dash of t into e power minus st into dt. So Laplace of this integral u into dv. This is integration by parts. This is uv minus integral v du. So I think you remember this from your intermediate. If not, you can just see over here. This is integration by parts. Integral u dv is equal to uv minus integral v du. So over here, integral u would be f of t into e power minus st, and you should apply the limits as well from 0 to infinity. So at time t is equal to 0, this would be f of t. At time t is f of 0 and e power minus 0 would be 0. At time t is equal to infinity, e power minus infinity would be 0. So this whole thing would be 0. So 0 minus f of 0, we'll get this minus minus into f of t into e power minus st. This is the v du part. So du here is this e power minus st dt, and v is f of t. So minus s into f of t into e power minus st. If you take this minus s outside the integral, this is a constant. Remember, it is time domain still because we are integrating with respect to time. So you can take it outside the integral, and this would be s integral f of t into e power minus st. This is the same formula for Laplace transform we have seen. This is the general formula. So this is just f of s. So this would be s f of s. So L of f dash of t is getting converted into s f of s minus f of 0. So a first order differential equation would get converted into an first order algebraic equation, and f of 0, it is the initial condition, and this is in time domain. Remember, this is small f of 0, so that means this is in time domain, initial condition of the function in time domain. So s f of s minus f of 0. This is the conversion for a first order differential equation. You can also take example for second order differential equation. You will just simply need to do this integration by parts twice for a second order differential equation. And this is a general thing for a differential equation. So for a first order differential equation, it would be s L of f of t, that is s f of s minus f of 0. And for a second order differential equation, it would be s square f of s minus sf of 0 minus f dash of 0. This all a small f of 0 means this is in time domain. You represent time domain with small f and s domain with capital F. So everywhere you take f of 0, this is in time domain, the initial condition in time domain. And similarly over here as well, this is the differential f dash of 0 in time domain. So suppose if you have t, then in time domain this f dash would be 1. So like that. And now for nth order differential equation, the Laplace transform would be s power n f of s minus s power n minus 1 f of 0 minus so on till f of the nth derivative n minus first derivative of 0. So like this, the nth derivative, it is getting converted into an algebraic function. So here with an order n. So the nth order differential equation will get converted into an nth order algebraic equation. So this is the main use of Laplace transform. And if you have any doubts, you can unmute yourself and ask. I can't check the chat. I hope you all understood what is the Laplace transform and why we use this. So let's continue. There are mainly two theorems in Laplace transform. The first one is initial value theorem. So from the name itself, you can see that this is the initial value theorem. That means this theorem will tell us the initial condition. So for this theorem to be valid, there are a few conditions. The function f of t and its derivative f dash of t should be Laplace transformable. So these two functions should have an f of s and an f dash of s, and as time approaches to 0 plus, the function f of t should exist. So limit t tends to 0 plus f of t must exist So limit t tends to 0 plus f of t means f of 0 plus. So this must exist. So the initial condition must exist. It shouldn't be like infinite or something like that. So f of 0 plus should exist. So if you take 1 by f of x as 1 by f of t as 1 by x, it doesn't exist because initially it would be infinity. So for that, this theorem is not valid. So it should exist, and for that, then f of limit t tends to 0 plus f of t is equal to limit s tends to infinity s into f of s. So for an initial condition in time domain f of 0 plus, you need to find the steady state condition or the s is equal to infinity condition for s into f of s. So this is the s domain function multiplied with s, and you need to find the limit s tending to infinity. So what is the main use of this theorem? First of all, so the main use of this theorem is, suppose if you are given an some voltage across capacitor is equal to some capital F of S, that is in time domain, and you are asked to find the voltage across capacitor in, this is given in S domain. So you are asked to find voltage across capacitor at the initial state in T domain. So you are asked to find it in T domain. Then you don't need to convert this f of s. You don't see, to convert the Laplace function, Laplace transform f of s into time domain, you simply need to look up into this Laplace table. You need to see the, suppose if you have this form, then in time domain the function would be in this form. So like that you will convert is inversely. So what the conversion of Laplace transform into time domain is known as inverse Laplace, the inverse of this thing. So for, you don't need to do that. You can directly put multiply this with s and put s is equal to infinity over here. So like that, it would be easy for us to find the initial condition if a Laplace transform is given to us. And the next is final value theorem. So we have seen initial value theorem that told us about the initial condition. So final value theorem would give us about the steady state condition. And for this theorem to be valid, the similar conditions exist. F of t should be Laplace transformable, and f dash of t should be Laplace transformable. And limit s tending to infinity, f of s should exist. So that if the steady state condition should exist, and this should not be like some an exponential graph that will go on to infinity at time t is equal to infinity. So that shouldn't be the case because then limit won't exist. If it is an infinity, then limit would not exist. So for this, if this exists, then limit t tends to infinity, f of t will be equal to limit s to 0, s into f of x. This is the reverse of initial value theorem. Initial value theorem, this was 0, and now this is 0. So this for infinity, for f of infinity, that is the steady state condition, you need to find the initial condition for s into f of s. So similar to the initial value theorem, even this theorem's utility lies when you are given a Laplace transform of a function and you need to find the steady state condition of the function in time domain. So then you can directly use theorem and you can directly get the steady state condition instead of using looking up into the Laplace table and finding the inverse Laplace functions. And any doubts so far? These theorems or while calculating the Laplace transform, you can ask. We'll continue. So next we will see the application of Laplace transform to circuit elements. So what are the circuit elements? There are L and C. So we will see Laplace transform to these elements. So first we'll see to R. So for a resistor, the circuit is like this. VR of t is equal to IR of t into R. V is equal to I into R. If you apply Laplace transform on both sides, so L of V of t will be equal to L of I of t into R. So the same conditions for an integral, for a normal integral, if you take a into f of t, then this would be equal to a into integral f of t. So all those properties for a normal integral also are also valid for a Laplace transform because this is simply the integration we are doing. So this would be R into I of S. So nothing changes for a resistor because a resistor is already the most simplified component of the circuit. That is V is equal to I into R, and that remains the same in S domain as well. V is equal to I into R in the S domain as well. Next, we will see how an inductor is changed in Laplace transform. So inductor, for an inductor in time domain, V is equal to L into di upon dt. So if you apply Laplace transform on both sides, here f of is the Laplace transform. So f of on both sides, that is the Laplace transform on both sides. We have seen for a differential equation, sorry, the first order differential equation, this would be s into capital Fs minus small f 0 minus, that is the zeroth initial condition. So this would be L into S L I L of S, I capital I of S. So we determine capital I as the Laplace transform of the current. So small I means it is in time domain and capital I means it is in S domain generally. So minus the initial condition in time domain. So we'll get, so from the differential equation, that is the first order differential equation, we are getting this into an algebraic equation. So here also VL of S is equal to LS into IL of S minus LI of S. This, if suppose the initial current across the inductor is zero, then this won't be there. So then this VL of S would be equal to LS into IL. So this LS, this is similar to R into I. So here Ls would be equal to R. So Ls is known as the impedance here because this would be equal to voltage by current would be impedance for any circuit. So voltage by current here is Ls. So ZL here would be equal to Ls. Now let us see how this circuit is changed. So in a Laplace, so this is changed like this. So VL of S, that is the edge across this whole inductor. So this is point A and point B. This, there is an inductor here. So that is equal to, if a current is flowing like this, SL into I. So SL is the impedance or the reactance you can say, but here we will use the term impedance. So SL, this is similar to R, resistance. So SL into I would give us the voltage across this inductor minus L into I of 0. So you can take this as some other voltage source is present and it is in the opposite direction to this. So here the voltage across the inductor would be plus over here and minus over here. So this is in the opposite direction across the inductor. So here it would be minus over here and plus. So the current would be flowing along this, the additional source that you have added, and the value of this additional source would be L into I naught. I naught here is I at initial current across the inductor. Suppose at time t is equal to 0, some I naught flows across the inductor. So that is equal to L into I naught, and this voltage is in series with the inductor. So like that, an inductor changes in Laplace transform of the circuit. And if you divide this this whole equation with SL, then you will get I across the inductor. So I would be V by SL plus I by S. I by S is I initial current by S. So this is same. If suppose this is 0, then I would be V by R. The similar thing, V by SL. SL is the impedance here. So now this circuit can be represented like this. Here you can see the second circuit. So I think the first years don't know what is a current source. A current source is a similar to the voltage source. Voltage source gives us the potential difference. Current source gives us the current. So suppose if there is a voltage source like this V, and this is R, some resistance is there R, and there is some impedance Z connected to it. Here this is a resistance R. And so current across this whole circuit would be V upon R plus Z. I think you all would know this at least from Kirchhoff's laws or something. Anything V is equal to I into R. So current across all this would be V upon R by R plus Z. So if you just don't take this into consideration, then current would be V upon R. So you can, if you convert this into a current source circuit like this, this is a current source and the current direction. If a direction inside the specific circle is mentioned, then it is known as the current source. You denote current source like this with an arrow inside, and you denote a voltage source with a positive and a negative symbol that indicates the direction of voltage, and it would have a resistor in parallel. So this V by R, the current here. So the current source would have a V by R. Current is flowing out of the source, and this is R. This is Z. Here Z is connected. So everything would be parallel for a current source. So see, you can see this is similar. You can you can say that the current across R and Z is not same. So but it is same. I will show you. Here it is V upon R plus Z. Here it is V by R. And now current divides for a parallel circuit. So here it would be R into V upon R plus Z. Sorry. Z into V by R upon plus Z would give us the current across the resistor. And this is not important to us. We need to find across the load. This load has impedance Z. So for that you need to multiply this with R instead of Z. So this R and this R gets cancelled, and finally you will get the current as V upon R plus Z only. You can try this once again in a neat paper if you want. My handwriting won't be good now. So like that, this is known as Thevenin's theorem, and the inversion and from current to voltage source is known as Norton's theorem. You will learn this in second sem as well. And if you still have any doubts, you can ask at the end of this workshop, or you can also DM me. And this is how an inductor is getting converted into Laplace transform. Next, for capacitor, similar to inductor, for a capacitor, I is equal to C into dV upon dt. And if you apply Laplace transform, this differential will get converted into this S into V minus V of 0 minus. So V of 0 minus, this you can take it as initial condition. And here we have got IC is equal to SC into V. So I is equal to V upon 1 by SC. So this 1 by SC is the impedance for an capacitor. Suppose if this is 0, the initial voltage across the capacitor is 0, then this 1 by SC is the impedance across a capacitor. This is similar to 1 by omega C reactance, and over here also this is similar to omega L reactance for an inductor. So you can also remember it in the same way. 1 by SC, a capacitor's reactance or impedance converts into 1 by SC, and this all these properties of resistors apply now for the capacitor. So and this is a current source. So you can also see from the Kirchhoff's current law, current flowing through to the junction I, and this is C into V naught should be equal to current going from this junction. So this is equal to this plus this, or this minus this will be equal to this I. And if you divide everything with SC, then you will get the voltage across the capacitor. And the voltage across the capacitor is the same as the inductor, but for an inductor here it is minus and then it is plus, but for a capacitor it is reverse. The voltage, additional voltage that you add as a source, is in the opposite direction to that of an inductor, because there is a plus over here, and for an inductor it would be minus. And This is how all these circuit elements get transformed if you use Laplace transform. So every differential equation is getting transformed into a linear equation, and this all uh, abide with the laws of resistor, that is V is equal to I into R. So here V is equal to I into Z, and Z is 1 by SC. So you can directly calculate anything given to you. And impedance and admittance. Impedance means Z of S, and Z of S is V upon I. So as I told you earlier, impedance for any circuit is given as V upon I, similar to the resistance. So impedance also has all the traits of a resistor, you can say, in the formula way. So for a resistor, ZR is equal to R itself. There won't be any change. For an inductor, ZL would be equal to S into L. This is similar to omega into L in RLC circuit. And ZC is equal to 1 by SC. This is also similar to 1 by omega C. And admittance is denoted by Y of C, and admittance is equal to current by voltage. Here, this is reverse of impedance. So, or you can also say admittance in a general way. Since you have studied in inter, you can say this as conductance. Conductance. I won't be writing all those things. So y of s is equal to I by v, or the 1 by z. Impedance admittance is equal to 1 upon impedance. So yr is equal to 1 by r, and yl is equal to 1 by sl, and zyc is equal to 1 by zc, that is s into c. So I think every one of you have understood this. If you have any doubt, ask in the chat. Other coordinator, we also have Pawan Kalyan. He will be answered in the chat. I'll stop here for a minute. If you have any doubt, you can ask. So, okay, let us continue. So, we'll see this example. Here, this suppose normally a current source would be, or a voltage source would be represented with a circle. Here, you are given a triangle or a rhombus kind of thing. So what this says is this is a dependent source. These are independent sources. So the value I from this source doesn't change if even if this circuit or any value in the voltage across this circuit changes. But this remains constant. This function remains same, Ig. But here this the current across this would change with V naught, V5, 3.25 into 10 power minus 3 into V5. This is a dependent source. That is, the current across this from this source is depending upon the voltage across this capacitor. The voltage across this capacitor is V naught psi. So current across this is depending upon this. So that's why we call these as dependent sources, and then dependent sources are represented with a triangle or a rhombus. And if there is an arrow inside, then it is a current source, and if there is a positive and a negative, well, then it is a voltage source. So these are dependent sources, and they are dependent upon other sources, other values in the circuit. So first we will see Ig is given as 5 into ut. So ut simply means that it is 1 at time t, after time is t is equal to 0, before time t is equal to 0, Ig is 0, and after time t is equal to 0, I is 5 milliamperes constant current. And we need to find V naught. V naught is potential across this. So since this is a parallel circuit, so potential across this, everything would be V naught. So we need to find V naught. Now we will use Laplace transform to find V naught. Firstly, we need to convert this whole circuit into Laplace transform circuit. So for that, we need to find the initial conditions at time t is equal to 0. So initially, no current flows across the circuit. So everything would be for anything for all I is equal to 0. So I is equal to 0. Since I is 0, V is 0 for all for across all these components, and I is also 0. So now when if suppose there is a switch, so this switch is closed after time t greater than 0. So now first we need to convert this into a Laplace transform circuit. So for a resistor, Laplace transform is R only. So we need to convert this, we will convert this into 280 only. And so the current source should also be converted, not just these and these capacitor and inductor. The current source should also be converted, and the current source function is 5 into ut. We have seen for a ut, the conversion would be 1 by s. So for 5 ut, the conversion would be 5 into milliampere by s. So milli means 0.005 s. And for a capacitor, it is 1, 1 by s into c. So c given is 0.25 into 10 power minus 6. So 1 by SC would be 4 into 10 power 6 by S. And this would be capital V naught, and this would remain the same. And across an inductor, it is S into L. L given is 40 millihenry. So 40 millih means 0.04 S. Because this is SL. If you have already forgotten, I will also be writing over here 1 by C to S. And this is simply R. So these are the conversions for inductor and a capacitor and a resistor. And next we will solve this circuit. First we'll apply KCL. So current across this should be equal to current across plus this plus this. So how do you calculate current across this? So the total voltage across these two terminals is V naught. So V naught upon the impedance in this circuit would give us the current flowing through this circuit. So V naught upon 280 plus 4 into 10 power 6 by S would be current across this. And here the current source given is already given with the formula 3.25 into 10 power minus 3 into V psi. V psi is the voltage across the capacitor only, not this whole thing. It is the voltage across capacitor only. And across this would be V naught by 0.04 into S. So now in this whole circuit, suppose in this terminal from here to here, so V naught is the potential difference across this whole terminal. So V naught will be equal to V psi, this voltage plus VR. So the voltage potential across this resistor. So V naught is equal to VR plus V psi. And VR we know 280 into I, and I is this across that this terminal only. We are saying I is this. So if you substitute this I over here, then we will get V naught is equal to this formula in terms of V psi in terms of V naught. We are going to find V naught. We will convert everything into V naught terms. So here we have already got V naught. Here we have V psi and we have V naught. So we need to convert V psi into V naught, and we are converting it like this. This is simple loop loss and all. I think you all know this since you wrote JE. So next we need to put this V naught V psi in this equation, and after substituting V psi in the from the KCL equation, we will get this equation, this following equation, and you need to just solve this equation in a normal way. So V naught plus you take LCM, you get this equation, and you divide this with this, you will get V naught as this. So the bottom denominator is S plus 10k whole square. So we have got V naught in S domain. So we have finally got V naught in S domain. see, it is so simple in S domain. So, but if you have taken a T domain, you will get a differential equation over here, another differential equation for this one because this and this are related, and another differential equation here. So it would finally be a third order or a fourth order differential equation. But here you have directly got an V naught without any differential equations and all. So now we want V naught in time domain, not in S domain. So for that, we need to convert this into S domain, inverse Laplace. So first we use partial fractions. This is similar to integrals. I mean, integration of suppose some t square by some function of t is there. You convert that into k by a plus k by b, k2 by b. So you need to apply partial fraction expansion over here. So I think you all know partial fraction expansions. So it will be k1 by s square, s plus k square plus k1 upon k2 upon s plus 10k. So from solving this, so to solve this, we need to do s naught, v naught is equal to k1 into s square s plus 10k and plus 2 into s plus 10k whole square. So, and if you substitute some s as some minus 10k and all, you can finally calculate k1 and k2. So if you calculate k1 and k2, you'll get 6000 and 1.4. So we have finally gotten V naught. So V naught is equal to 6000 by s square s 10k square plus 1.4 by s plus 10k. We have gotten this in S domain, not in time domain. So we need to transfer this into time domain. Now let us check what are our Laplace table to transform this into time domain. So we have got this. So we have got this equation and we want this to be transformed into time domain. That is the inverse Laplace. So for that, we will see the Laplace table. So we want a upon s plus a whole square. So for that, in the Laplace table, s plus a whole square. So you can see this e power at and e power at into t power n. This has n factorial by s minus a power n plus 1. So this is similar to the function we have got. You can substitute n as 2, n as 1 over here. So it would be t power n into e power at. So then and a you can find, and that would be, and that you will get this as this 6000 t into e power minus at, the same form. So this and this a you can find it from that function as well. So and for a 1 by s plus a, this is u of t function. So 1 by s plus a, that is 1 for 1 by s similar function. So this will just be 1 s plus a means it would be e power minus a into u of t. So this would be 1.4 into e power minus a. A here is 10k. That into u of t. So this will give us in time domain. So this we have simply gotten this without doing any differential equations or anything. We just need to check the Laplace table to transfer this s domain function into time domain function. So v naught of s into v naught of t. This is also simple. You just need to look up the table here in slides. Looking it side by side would be difficult. So you can just look it up and you can just transfer this. So this is much simpler than solving some 10th order, ninth order, 8th order differential equation than solving some, instead of two partial fractions, you have got some partial fractions. Even then you can solve it. You just need to look up two more values in the Laplace table. So that would just take 2 or 3 seconds. But solving the differential equations would take a lot of time and it won't be proper as well. So the next is a summary. You have seen Laplace transform. and the initial value theorem to calculate the initial condition in time domain from the given S domain, that is limit S tend to infinity, S into f of s would give us the initial condition in time domain. And the final value theorem, this is the steady state theorem. So the steady state condition of the time domain function could be calculated from the initial s is equal to 0 if in s into f of s. And we have seen the impedance when a Laplace transform is applied for a resistor circuit, the impedance would be R itself. And if for an inductor circuit, it will transform into S into L. And for a capacitor circuit, it would be 1 by S plus S into C. So that is it for the workshop. And these are a few additional links. I strongly recommend everyone to go through this video. We will share the PPT, so the link will be available. Here in this video, you will be given what exactly is Laplace transform, and instead of just this, use that it will convert d power differential equation into an algebraic equation. It will also be explained what exactly the other things that the Laplace transform does. And if you have not understood what I said about this circuit elements, the inductor, capacitor, and resistor transformation into Laplace elements, so you can also go through this video, and this is a link for all the Laplace transform derivations, properties, and all, and the derivations of those properties. Here you can see all these properties, applications, and inverse Laplace tables, everything in this link. So this is like a study material link. You can go through this to learn, and these PPTs will be available to you. So no need to worry for the links. And thank you. So that is it for the workshops. If you don't have any doubts, you can leave. Here you can ask and unmute yourself and ask. I guess there aren't any doubts. So we will end the meeting. Ishan, screen recording off.